Hi, and welcome to the BookishStitcher podcast. My name is Jeanette. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and Goodreads as BookishStitcher, all one word. I hope you guys have had a wonderful holiday season since I last podcasted. Thank you so much for all the kind words about my husband and I's podcast. You thought we were cute together, and thank you so much for people that pointed out that Hanukkah had not quite started yet when we recorded. And because of that, I went and researched a whole bunch about it, and I got to learn a ton more than I ever knew. It's about 30 minutes reading up about the dates of Hanukkah and why it changes and all that kind of stuff. And so that was fascinating and great to learn some more about a different culture. And we've been so busy since I last podcasted, and there's so much to tell you that it's probably going to be a longer one. You can already see the time because as you pressed play, it told you how long it was. But so kind of a little backstory about what we did over the Christmas holiday for us. In about 2015, at the beginning of the year, we were like, we want to take the kids to Disney World for Christmas this year. So on 2015. So we started saving all year, and we got towards the end of the year and we hadn't saved up enough. So we're like, okay, well, we can't go this year, and we'll just keep saving and keep the money, just keep putting more at it, and whenever we get enough there, we'll go. And so it was coming towards the end of this year, and we're like, oh, we're probably not gonna have enough. And so what we decided to do was forego any presents. Kids did not get presents, we did not get presents for each other, we did not get presents from our parents, from grandparents, from aunts, from uncles, from sisters, from brothers, from anybody. We're like, we don't want any presents, we just would really like, if you have enough books, we have enough toys for the kids, we'd really like the gift of an experience, because we don't take family vacations outside of Texas. The last one we took was actually to Disney World when my son was 4 and he's now 10. So, or was he almost 4? I think he was almost 4. He's 3, almost 4, I believe. But, or maybe 4, almost 5. But I think he was around 4. But yeah, so we don't take family vacations. We'll go somewhere in Texas, or, we'll fly, like if there's a funeral, we flew to a funeral or something like that. Or if my husband's parents want to see the kids, would fly to their house for the holidays, but not a vacation where the 4 of us in our immediate family pick where we would like to go and go there as a family. And so we went without any gifts this year, and we went to Disney World. And oh my gosh, those of you who've ever been or can possibly imagine, it is so crowded and busy at Christmas time. It was wonderful and it was lots of fun, but I don't think I would do Christmas time again. I might take the kids out of school and go at a time like in early February or something when it's still not boiling hot, but not as busy. It was crazy packed. And so we were there for a while over Christmas, and it was just so much fun. My son had lots of fun, but my daughter is at that magical age where everything, like the parade would come by and she would see these characters that she had seen on movies, and she was just like, she was so excited, and I was tearing up, and my husband and I were both tearing up at seeing just the magicalness of it all to her. She loved it so much. And when we left, she of course cried that she was gonna miss Florida. So I told her we'd come back sometime, but it was just wonderful to get to experience the magic of that through her eyes. And I loved it. My favorite thing though, we went to all the parks. There's Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. I think everybody's favorite except for mine and my family was Magic Kingdom. My favorite is Epcot because I love the World Showcase. There's this part in the back, I think there's rides and stuff up front, but in the back there's this part with all these different countries, and each country, not all the countries of the world, but all the countries they have showcased there has a little area, and they can go and you can eat food from the region, you can have drinks, some of them have a ride, there's shopping. It's amazing. And as you guys know, I'm a tiny bit obsessed with languages, and I just feel like languages are a great way to experience another culture. And so I was in heaven. I was going around and talking to all the people in the shops and using my little bit of the language that I knew in different, parts I knew more. But my husband thought it was so funny because he knows a little bit of some languages, but he's very hesitant to use them. Whereas the little bits I know in different ones, or some that I know pretty well, I will always be using it. So We went to dinner one night at Epcot in this area of Mexico, and I was speaking in Spanish with the waitress. And then we went to Norway. I don't know any Norwegian, but they had a really fun ride there that my daughter loved. We went to the Germany area, and I got to talk a little bit in German with the girl there at the thing, because we bought gorgeous, they had this section with Christmas ornaments that were made in Germany, the beautiful wooden ones that Germany is known for. They were so pretty. I got some of those. When I was talking to her, she was checking us out and talking in German a little bit, and she was teaching me some different German phrases that I didn't know, and she was talking about how after learning English she realized how hard German was, because they were saying I was having a little bit of struggles learning German, and I told her I think I've been learning it for a couple months. According to Duolingo, I'm 17% fluent, whatever that means. But yeah, I got to talk to her, and then a little bit in the part of China, I got to learn some new words and use some of the words that I knew. And then the Japan part I absolutely loved so much. I was just walking around speaking in Japanese to everyone, and I have to thank my Japanese teacher Sobahame on Ravelry, because it was because of her that I knew so much of these things, and it was just absolutely wonderful to go around and talk to people in Japanese, and then in French, and then Italian. We had a lunch at an Italian place, and I got to speak with the waiter in Italian, and it was great. And there was a British place, and I got to talk with the lady there, and it was just really neat because all these people in the Epcot area are brought from their countries to work on work visas for a little bit at the park. And so they've been basically in America for a period of 6 to 8 months. And a lot of them had a lot of really interesting opinions on what's been happening in America in the last 6 to 8 months. So I loved getting to talk with them about that. And the Italian waiter was just so wonderful. He was very Italian, and he was teaching me words, and he was being like the very romantic Italian waiter, and it was cool. My husband was like, wow, you're learning a lot of new things here in Epcot, and it was just the best. I love Epcot so much, and my son kept saying, you're meeting new people at Epcot and in line every day, because one day we're waiting in line for food, and we're vegetarians, and I was saying how it's hard to find vegetarian stuff. I was talking to my son, and the man next to me in line was like, yeah, I've been a vegetarian for 30 years, and it's hard for me too. And he said that he lives in Brazil, and it's really hard for him to find stuff. And so he started teaching me some Brazilian words. I knew obrigado, but he taught me that the Brazilian word for hello is oi. So I love getting to meet people from other cultures. It is one of the biggest joys to me. So it's just amazing to get to do that every day there, because it's everywhere. But yeah, I'm having some coffee, Trader Joe's wintry blend, in my only Bronte sisters mug. But you guys came to see knitting, so I will show you some of that. This is an FO that I did a while ago that I completely have been forgetting to show you. These are the handspun mittens, the mittens out of handspun that I made for my daughter. The pattern I used was Susan B. Anderson's Waiting for Winter Littles pattern. It's like the little version of that. And the handspun was done from some fiber by Rin and Ollie in her, I believe, Sweet Dreams. I just took the bat, broke it up into pieces, spun it, the singles, and then chain plied it. And of course, there's a ton left over in each color, but I wanted to get through each color, so I did that. And my daughter's pretty rough on her knitwear, and I discovered a drop stitch. So I love these little clasps. If I find a drop stitch, I just clasp it around there and hook it in. I'm gonna fix that. We found that I found it right before I went to Disney World, but I didn't have time to fix it before we left, and now we're back. We haven't been going outside because as a parting gift, Mickey Mouse gave us the flu, and the kids also got strep throat. So we're feeling better now, but it was rough there. We actually got sick on Christmas Day, and so the day after Christmas we just slept in the hotel room and didn't even go out to the park, so we missed one of our days there. And then I cast on a whole bunch of new things, but I didn't bring them with me because I talked about last time how I was gonna get rid of knit up my queue from last year. So I just cast on all those, and what I'm gonna do, it's part of my goals for this year, 2017. Oh, happy 2017, by the way, which I'll talk about later, my goals. I have kind of moved my W.I.P.s into a goal for this year from last year. Well, let me show you what I am working on, because I cast on, well, I'll just tell you really quick what I did cast on. I cast on the Watercourse sweater, which was a pattern gifted to me by Loopy Liz. I cast on the River Mist cowl, which was a pattern gifted to me by a Canadian knitter. And I cast on a little dress for my daughter. I don't remember the pattern name, but my friend Amelia gifted that to me, because these were patterns that friends had gifted to me months and months or a year ago, and I wanted to kind of use them. So just cast them all on. But in my Bling Your String bag that my friend Erin and I got, that she gave me in a swap that we did, I have socks for my husband. So here's the first one. It's all done. And the yarn that it's done in is some Nightowl Fibers for the main base of the sock. And then the cuff I did in some Loopy U Solid series because it matched. And since it's just on the cuff, I figured 100% merino for the cuff would be fine. The rest of the sock has a nylon merino base. And I have gotten halfway through the second sock, and there's what's left. I love seeing when it's wound in cakes like this, either it's wound by the dyer, or I always have mine personally, like I wind them into the little balls, or my husband helps me winding, depending on if he has time. But I love seeing the ball disappear. It's really fun. So this is the Sherlock Holmes colorway by Nightowl. My husband was commenting that it matches our bathroom towels, but he loves the color. I think it's a good guy color. It also kind of reminds me of the beach and of course Sherlock Holmes, but yeah. So turning the heel on that, I am loving, I knit on the first one a little bit at Disney World, but really I forgot my knitting one day. It was so busy, and my anxiety kind of, I wanted to know where my kids were and kind of not even know where they were, but be holding on to them all the time. Like my daughter, my 4-year-old, had to hold either my hand or my husband's hand. So I didn't really knit except in line a couple times. But I did find that the one day that I didn't bring the knitting, and when we were just standing in line, I was pretty grumpy. So it's a good thing to have knitting so you're not grumpy in line. But yeah, that was almost done. And then I show you my older W.I.P. This is in a Fat Squirrel sweater bag. I have the sweater for my best friend for Christmas. It's not done yet, but we haven't seen her for Christmas because she's still gone on vacation. They take like a 3 or 4 week vacation for Christmas to Chile, and so I won't see her for a while. And this is the Cloud Bay by Justine Alaric Hauschka. I'm knitting it out of some KnitPicks Capra DK. And it's been a struggle with this. I think an all white sweater is kind of hard, but that's what she asked for, and I love her, so I'm making that for her. But the last time you saw it, it was right here. So I've knit about 5 inches since I last showed this on the podcast. And I'm on the bottom band for this, which you think would go pretty quickly, but the ribbing, a 1x1 rib, is 5.5 inches on the bottom band. So I'm not even halfway there. That's going to be a struggle for me because 1x1 ribbing is not my favorite. I don't mind knitting and I don't mind purling, but I don't like where you're having to constantly switch the yarn back and forth. So this is going to be done. I'm going to focus on it. It's one of my goals. Get some W.I.P.s done and give that to my best friend for whenever, but since she's an adult, I don't have to worry about her growing out of it. She can wear it next winter. And then a new cast on, because as I talked about a little while ago, I'm going to be doing designer spotlights for the whole year of 2017. It's kind of my theme for the year, and I'll go ahead and talk about that now. It's going to be a new theme segment every beginning of the month. There's going to be a different designer that I'm going to be showcasing, and all that month I'm going to be knitting on. Every Sunday you'll see a new pattern by that designer that I will cast on and be knitting on and talking about, and then I'm also going to talk about that designer and kind of, different things about them that I can find from stalking their Ravelry pages. But yeah, so the first designer that I am doing is Veera Valimaki, and this is one of the books that I have the first and the third volume of Interpretations, but this is a picture of her. And I love her design aesthetic. And so some things that I learned about Veera Valimaki, she's from, maybe she's not from there, she currently lives in Finland, and she has been blogging since late 2008, and then late 2009, about November 2009, she put out her first patterns on Ravelry. And in November 2009, she put out 2 patterns. They were her first ones, and they were both sweater, cardigan, garment style things. And I got to go back and read through her blog and the archives, not all of it because she has a ton, as you can imagine, starting in 2008, but it was really fun. Her design aesthetic is gorgeous. Her blog is beautiful, and sometimes it's just really nice to have your cup of coffee or your tea and sit and read a blog, because there are some people out there that take amazingly gorgeous pictures, and it's nice to just explore that media. You know, there's all kinds of different ways to explore knitting. But yeah, her blog is called 100% Rain, but to find it you go to 100, not written in letters but just the numbers, and then -rain.blogspot.com. And her design name on Ravelry is Rain Knitwear Designs. So if you watched the podcast before, you guys know I madly in love with the rain, and so it's kind of a girl after my own heart who she also loves the rain enough to have her blog about that, so it's just awesome. And she currently has 212 designs on Ravelry. Last time I looked, you know, designers are always putting out new designs, so I don't know how often that will be, but according to her blog, you know, she puts them out all the time, and she has lots of beautiful pictures on her blog, and she also sews. There's a lot of things in her blog about her making costumes for her 2 kids and all kinds of just really beautiful and fun things on the blog. So I definitely encourage you to check out 100% Rain or 100-Rain blogspot.com if you'd like to see that and learn more about her. And it is in English, even though she lives in Finland, so that was nice. But so for the first, that's kind of the little designer spotlight segment that I'm going to be doing next month. It'll be a different one. But so the first project of hers that I cast on, I had, you know, the thing is, like, there are tons. Out of the 212 patterns that she has, there are probably 30 or 40 that I would love to knit. But if I cast on 30 or 40 things this month, I would have to do, my theme for 2018 through 2035 would have to be working on my WIPs. I'd never get to cast on anything new because I'd have so many. But I picked a couple that I really loved, and I tried to pick ones of varying hardness. Like this one they started off with has the most yardage of all the things, and then next week's will have a little bit less, and then so on and so forth. And one of the patterns, it was a kindly gift to me by my friend Kim, Yearning for a Smile. I'll be knitting that later this month. But the one I cast on is called Iceberg, and it is a sweater from her collection called Bespoke Sweaters, which is done in all these gorgeous gray sweaters, and I think it has a collection of 7 sweaters, and they're all very simple, kind of oversized, cozy in most of the cases, but also they have these really cute little details, which I love. I love like a shirt, like this one, it looks plain, but it has the little lace detail on the side. I love just a tiny little interesting detail. So I'm knitting this out of some Shalimar yarns in the Breathless DK, and I wanted to use, because the sweater has a very specific kind of how it lays and how a very specific drape, I wanted to use a similar yarn content. So it's a merino cashmere silk, so that the silk can kind of give it that drape. And so this I thought was appropriate name, since the sweater is called Iceberg. This is called Glacier, and it's this gorgeous blue, which I love, just like an icy blue. And I have not done much on this at all. There's the cake kind of wound up and falling apart, but I literally just cast on and did 3 or 4 rows. But that's it. It's I love turtlenecks. I don't often wear them on the podcast, but I wear them all the time at home. And I found that like at night, I will just pull up the bottom of my shirt over to my nose. I just love to like feel snug and cozy like that. So I think this will be perfect because it has a giant, huge turtleneck. And so you start with that. So I'm starting with the turtleneck and then you go out to the body. But the wonderful thing about this, and it's on some Knit Pro zings that they had at Michael's. I was getting dyeing supplies and behold, there were Knit Pro zings there. It was amazing. But this sweater is DK, but it's done on huge needles for a DK, which you would normally do on like a 5 or a 6. This is done on a 10 US, which is a 6mm. I don't normally tell my needle size because I encourage everybody, if you're doing a sweater, knit a gauge swatch and your needles will probably be different from mine. But this yarn is gorgeously soft. I'm going to love working with it. And so I think even though it's got a ton of yardage and it's a relatively giant sweater, because it has I think 4 or 6 inches of positive ease, and I'm not a tiny person, I think that it will just be a joy to knit because the yarn, and it will go faster than I would think because it's knit on such large needles. And I think also that the large needles will enable it to be more breathable than say a DK weight sweater knit on a size 5. It wouldn't have quite the airiness. But yeah, that's all I've done of that. So those are my 3 works in progress that I wanted to show you. Like I said, I worked a lot more on other things, or I worked on a lot of other things, but I just wanted to show these. For spinning, I really didn't get any spinning done before we left, and I haven't gotten much done. I spun a little bit, I'm still plying, and the last one from last year, and then those will get their baths, and I'll show you them next week. But I am planning on unofficially doing the Spin Your Bin, which is just a challenge where you pick like the group is, there's a group on Ravelry called Completely Pointless and Arbitrary Spinners or something like that. I don't think I'm in the group, but the idea behind it is you get a bin and put a whole bunch of fiber in it, how much you want to spin for that entire year. And so I put my picture on Instagram yesterday of the ones that I want to spin for 2017, and I picked my first one. And somebody commented on Instagram, I can't remember who it was right now, and asked about how the Noro pencil roving is, and I don't know because I have not spun it, but just from feeling it, I'm feeling like it's going to be a very kind of rustic and airy yarn that will be great for a hat, that with the air that will be trapped inside the fiber because of the way I will spin it, that it will be a very warm hat. And I think since it's blues and pinks and kind of shades, that it will be one that will be good for my daughter. So I'm excited to try that. I don't think this will be a go-to pencil roving for me because just from the feel of it, it's not anywhere near like the fiber optic quality or anything like that, but it's fun to try different pencil rovings because I love them. So this is going to be my first spin of 2017. And I kind of picked it because it is pencil roving. I think it'll spin up very quickly, and it just has 100 grams, so it's probably about 4 ounces. So that's going to be my first spin of the year. And then let's see, I actually made notes today because I had so much to talk about I was going to forget something. But so enabling, so let's see. One of my goals for the next year, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is to knit more socks. And so I want to knit more socks for other people. I did that last year too, but most of my sock yarn is ones that I see that and I would love, so it's not necessarily ones for others. So I wanted to get a couple skeins of sock yarn for like my husband and my daughter, who's been asking for socks for so long, because I think I knit my son 3 pairs last year and I didn't knit my daughter 1, or she got 1. But so I want to knit my husband a lot because he wears his every day and he only has like 7 pairs. So this is one that I'm gonna knit for my husband. It is an opal, just sturdy workhorse, great yarn. He said the colors were okay. And then for my daughter, this is sparkly glitter girly for her. She loves these colors, yarn that she picked out a little while ago, and it's Plymouth yarn stiletto. So I'm gonna knit those for her this year. And then one of the patterns that I'm planning to knit this month from Veera Valimaki is a giant shawl. And it's actually, you're going to see it next week. It's going to be my cast on for next Sunday, or probably cast it on before next Sunday, but you'll see it done. But it needed 3 skeins of the same yarn because it's all done. It's not done in like sections or anything like that. Could I have used different yarns? Probably, but I don't think it would have kept the same aesthetic. So I did not. I went stash diving first because that's what I always do, and I try to plan to where I can use my stash for everything. But I went stash diving and I didn't have 3 skeins of any one fingering weight yarn. And so I went looking around on Etsy and different stuff, and I decided, okay, I have a list of dyers that I have never tried and that I would like to, and it's always growing. So I went to that list and I looked at some of those and then went and looked at their sites to see what they had. And one that I saw that had some yarn that was perfect for the shawl and for my color love and just everything was Yarn Ink. And she's in Canada, and it is Art on a String. And this is it's her classic sock, and it's in the Luna colorway, which is from Harry Potter, I'm assuming. And I love Luna so much. She's one of my favorites. And we actually took a day to go to Hollywood Studios and go to the Harry Potter thing there. And so I get to see kind of what it would be like, wear Luna. But I love Luna because she's a fellow Ravenclaw. I love Ravenclaw. As you guys probably know if you watch the podcast, I love learning. Like, I absolutely crave learning new things all the time. And so Luna's a Ravenclaw, and if you hate Harry Potter, probably fast forward 3 minutes. But the thing I love about Luna is that she's so understated. People just think of her as kind of an airhead, I guess, but she comes out with these brilliant, if you watch the movies or read the books, she comes out with these brilliant suggestions, lines, witticisms, and you don't even see it coming. And because she's so whimsical and so, but everything she says has context that is just, it's brilliant. And so I love that about her, that she's like this genius in disguise almost. And I just love the whimsical nature of Luna. And so this is going to be perfect. And I'm so excited to knit this up into a shawl because I wanted a white yarn with speckles. And this is a white yarn with purple and blue and green speckles, which are my favorite colors. If you just threw in gray there. There's actually a mug at the Starbucks at Epcot that said, those "You Are Here" mugs that you can get from Starbucks. And they had an Epcot one, and it was in those colors, and I regret not getting it. But yeah, that's one of my things that I got for the shawl because I needed that for what I'm going to be casting on this week. And I think that's all for enabling, except the Open Skies yarn, my Etsy yarn shop. It's going to be opening up again in a couple days. I think I said I was going to open it up still in December, but as Mickey Mouse, I said, gave us the flu. We haven't been feeling up to I haven't been feeling up to opening up the Etsy store again and doing all that. So it'll be opening up probably this week. Maybe I'm looking at my calendar, maybe the 2nd or the 3rd of January. But some new things that are coming to the Etsy yarn shop for Open Skies Yarn is there's going to be a club, and it's going to be a 3-month club. And as I was talking earlier about loving languages and the thrill of Epcot, the club is actually going to be going to different countries so that I speak the language and also that I can get cool stuff from. So it's 3 months, and the club, you could choose, I'm going to have it to where you can choose DK weight or the soft sock, which is a merino nylon sock base. And so you can choose either one of those, and the club will ship out probably end of January, beginning of February, like around that time. And every month we'll go to a different country. And so Russia, Japan, and France for this time. And the cool thing about living in a city, it's not New York or something like that, but San Antonio does have different areas within it to where there's markets. So we have a Japanese market that I can go to and get you guys some cool stuff for the club, some cool extras. So the club will be more than just the price of a single skein of yarn. And that's because it's going to have a ton of extras. And then we have a European market where I can go and get Russian things and all kinds of cool stuff to put in it. And if you've gotten my yarn before, you know that I love doing special little extra things with it. So I'm thrilled at the idea of putting together a little package for everybody that's in the club. And there will only be 10 spots available for that because it's my first club ever and I really don't want to overwhelm myself. So, and I'm also dying for the show that I'm going to be vending at in April. So yeah, that will be going up. Let's say we'll start the sign-ups. I'm looking at calendar again on let's say the 5th of January in the evening, like 7 p.m. Central Time. Not that there's going to be a massive rush, but I'll leave it open either till they fill up the 10 spots or till I'm shipping out the first skeins of yarn. So that'll be a skein of yarn, and then it will be a whole bunch of extra goodies, which I've already ordered some of them and they're great. But okay, so that's that yarn club stuff. And then also the next, I kind of do a themed dyeing thing for everything. The next theme that I'm doing, I did Les Mis, I did Audrey Hepburn. The next one that I'm going to be doing is Kate Winslet, who is one of my favorite actresses, and I'm going to be dyeing up some colorways based on her movies. But if you have one of her movies that you absolutely love and is a favorite to you, please write and let me know in the thread for this episode on the podcast Ravelry group, so that I can, if there's a whole bunch of people that love certain ones like Pride and Prejudice, I can be sure to dye that one up. And so group news for the podcast. We have a group, it's on Ravelry under the group tabs for BookishStitcher podcast. And we just finished last year using up a whole bunch of our scraps. And so I drew a winner for a pattern prize, $7 or less from that thread. And the winner was post number 88, who is Tesoro Stitchery. She lives near DC. And so Tesoro Stitchery, anytime you see this, just contact me and I can get you a pattern of your choice, $7 or less. And so this year we will be doing the theme of the different designers. So every month I will put up a thread and about just a designer thread, and then you can, if you'd like to knit along for the Veera Valimaki for January, but also I'm going to put up a giveaway thread, and it's going to be for a pattern of your choice, not like a book, but like one single pattern of your choice from that designer that you could knit along with us if you want. So I'll put that up today, and you can go and enter for a pattern from Veera Valimaki, and I'll leave that up for a week because I don't want to leave it up too long because I want people to have time to join in that month. And then next we had our Sparkle Cowl ended, and there were 2 winners for that, one for a bag and one for those sparkly minis. The bag is from Playing with Needles Etsy shop, and the sparkly minis were from Knitting Color. And the 2 winners were Astrid from Portugal, and she had post number 50, and then the other one was Rose Bob from the UK, and she had post number 22. So whoever contacts me first on the thread in Ravelry where I post this episode, whoever posts first and says like, I'd love a bag, or I would love the sparkly minis, that person will get them first, in a first come first serve basis. So that was the Sparkle Cowl. And then I am also going to be drawing for, I mentioned forever ago and I forgot to do it, the winners for the Patreon minis. Have a Patreon account where you can help support the podcast with different shipping things to, different countries and around the States. And I'm doing a collection of minis, sock yarn minis that I've knit this year, and probably I'll throw in some extras even more because I want to give you like a huge bundle of minis. I don't know how many, but I've been scanning up. My husband's been helping me scanning up minis, and I have a bucket full. So 3 people will be getting a ton of minis. And I meant to draw for that today, but I wrote it down on the notes and then didn't draw for it. So I'm going to draw for it right after this and write it and stick the big post-it note on my forehead, stick it up somewhere. And so I will be announcing that next week. I promise. I know I forget stuff all the time. I'm not great at it, but I promise. Oh, and on that note, there are a couple packages that if you are expecting a package from me for a prize you won, I think there are only 2 or 3, then it will be going out next week. I've got them all packaged up, but I just did not have time before Disney. We were in a mad rush, and some of them required customs forms, which take a lot longer and are a bit more expensive to ship. So, or not a bit, a lot more expensive to ship. So I just waited till after we got back, and they're all packaged up, and they'll be going out this next week. And so I think that's all for the group news. Oh, no, it's not. We have a new prize. So we have a new prize that was so generously donated by Erin of Bling Your String, and then my friend Aubrey, who sent that giant box with all those wonderful things. So Erin sent this gorgeous bag, and then Aubrey sent a whole bunch of different skeins to use for giveaways. And this is the one I picked because I thought it had a bunch of colors that are kind of in the bag. It's very bright and colorful like the bag is. Kind of have the white for the snowman, and you have the red and the green and all kinds of colors. So this is going to be a prize. The thread is going to be I guess it'll be titled like Hello 2017 or Happy New Year giveaway or something. But what I'd like you to post in there is, do you do any New Year's goals? And if so, what are they? If you don't, then if you want to say why or just say no, whatever's fine. I know it's a personality thing, honestly. What it is some people love it and some people it just doesn't do anything for them. So there's no reason why you would want to do it if it wasn't something that appealed to you. But yeah, so that's the giveaway, and that will run for a while. I'll be up in the group, and I will also post about it on Instagram in case anybody wants to enter and forgets. So that is all the group news stuff. And then on the note of 2017 goals, checking my time here. It's going to be a long podcast. I try to hurry through the last couple things. I wrote down my 2017 goals. I was just going to read them to you, and because it will play a big role in what you see on the upcoming podcast. So my first goal is I have tons and tons of mini skeins that I've either purchased or people have gifted to me. And I have one mini skein mitered square blanket for my son, and they're bigger squares that I'm using, but they're not huge. And then I want to start a blanket for my daughter. So my goal for this next year is to use up one mini skein per week. It's going to be a hard, solid, and fast rule that I'm going to hold myself to. And, I'm going to do it, in fact, Sunday nights after I podcast, and I'm not going to do any other knitting till that's done. So that's my first hardcore rule of the next year, is to use up some of those minis. And I actually think that I might start a crochet one because I like the idea of just being like my mitered square. I'll get to the end and I will have a lot left still, and I'm like, oh, I hate having the stuff left, even though I can re-gift them to friends. But I like the idea of where I can just crochet across a line and just join in a new color when I run out of the other one. But then my other goal is for 2017 is I want to have a finished sock every Sunday of 2017. So this is my first finished sock. So that kind of equates to not quite 25 pairs of socks, but that's another one. I really want to use up some of my sock yarn. I'll have a lot of self-striping sock yarn. I really want to use it up. So, or whittle that stash down, kind of not buy any more self-striping and use up what I have. So there's first one, and that's my second most major goal. And then another goal is to vend my first show, which I've already signed up for, and I just need to get on track tying the yarn for. And then another goal is, I always do 5 because I'm obsessed with the number 5. So another goal is to get 10 WIPs from 2016 finished this year. So basically one each month for 10 months. So this is a WIP. That sweater that I showed you, the Cloud Bay, is a WIP. So I get those done, and then when I'm finished with one, pick up another WIP and work till that is done. And then the last one is to knit my queue. I went through and added a bunch of patterns from the designers that I want to do this year, and so knit up the queue of the different designers. And then I added in 5 goals that were crafty but not knitting related. So I never show it on the podcast, but I do cross stitch. I do start cross stitches. That's what we should say. My goal is to finish 3 cross stitches. I have some that are halfway done and they're not that big. So of course I have some like frosted pumpkin like the passport ones are huge, and those are not ever going to be done, if I'm honest with myself. Maybe when I'm in my 60s, like few decades, few decades, they'll be done. But so finish up 3 smaller cross stitches. Sew 10 things. I sew very rarely, once or twice a year, but I want to sew more, like some, it doesn't have to be big projects, like baby bibs, pajama pants, anything like that. Spin 25 braids of fiber. So I have my 12 or 13 for the spin the bin, and then I have tour de fleece. So I'd like to spin, I think, let me see, so probably spin 5 or 6 braids of fiber during tour de fleece, and then I do Spinzilla. So my goal is to spin 1 braid a day for that, so 7. So that equals up to about 25 braids of fiber, and that will give me a chance to buy some new fiber throughout the year, because I don't have 25 braids of fiber in my fiber stash currently. And then another goal is to crochet. I learned it this year, or I not learned it, but I relearned it. I hadn't done it since I was a little kid, probably. But I want to kind of keep that skill, so I want to crochet some things. So I think the crochet scrap blanket would be perfect for that. Kind of keeps the motion there. And then my final one is I want to take a Craftsy course based on a new craft that I would like to do. So it could be anything. It could be a painting one. It could be a cookie decorating one. It could be a photography one. It could be basically anything that I don't already do. I'd like to pick a Craftsy class sometime this year, buy it, and then do that. So those are all my goals for this year. My personality loves goals, loves lists. So it's, like I said, it's just a personality thing. Some people hate making goals and some people love them. But yeah, so that's all the knitting related stuff, which is good because almost at 45 minutes, I'll get to the book. So I thought this would be an applicable book for this time of year, since it is, the first of the year, and people are thinking about, if you're a goal setter, people are thinking about what they want the next year to look like. And I know a lot of people pick words for the year. My word actually for this next year is the word less, which is probably not a popular word in common culture where a lot of people want more and more and more, but it's less in a good areas. Like, I want less things in my house. I'd like to go through my kids' toys, get less. I am very much a minimalist, and I am happiest when there's almost nothing in my house. So but my family's kind of the opposite of that. So I've been kind of leaning towards their way to kind of make people happy, but I think we need to bring it back a little more towards the middle ground, so I can feel that I love my space around me too. So we've been cleaning for this whole weekend, and my kids are like, I don't want to clean anything. My kids are not loving the mommy and daddy enthusiasm of let's clean the whole house. So yeah, but I want to have less in that respect, and I would like to let things stress me out less, let things that happen affect me less in negative ways, and just all that kind of less in that respect. So the book, I got off track there, is Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin. Gretchen Rubin also wrote The Happiness Project, and as you can see, I'm not finished with this book, but a lot of the back of it is just notes, so I'm pretty close to finished. And I've been reading this slowly over months, kind of a little section at a time to absorb the knowledge. And I kind of, with anything, like with the magical art of tidying up, any of that kind of thing, I don't ever, or anything in life, I don't subscribe like everything this person says is 100% perfect and I believe all of them. I don't have that like cultish following towards anybody in the book community, the knitting community. I don't do that. That's against my personality thing. So what I tend to do is read it, kind of look at it objectively, and pull from it what I think works for me, or what I think will benefit me, or what I think is trying to achieve my end goal. So I've been doing that with this book, and it has a lot of really good suggestions on how to form habits. And shortly after I started reading this book, I decided that I wanted to form the habit of going to the gym. I used to be a runner, and I used to run all the time. And then shortly after I actually started this podcast, I was diagnosed with a heart condition. and I stopped running because they told me basically don't run anymore if you don't want to have your heart have problems, and you know, it's a long story. But so I stopped running, and I hadn't gone to the gym because I thought I don't want to be there with people running next to me and I'll feel sad while I'm, you know, walking at a pace of 2.5 miles per hour or 3 point, because I can't walk fast. My heart doesn't respond appropriately and it goes out the roof. So I just had avoided it, and I realized, you know, I talked to my heart doctor about it. I wanted to make sure it was safe, but I said, can I please add it back in, you know? And he's like, yeah, just, and the treadmills have things where you can put your hands on them and see how your heart's doing. He's like, just don't let your heart go above this. If you feel like you're going to pass out and black out, if your heart rate gets up way too crazy high, like 219, don't do it anymore. But kind of, you know, that kind of thing. So I have been going to the gym, and she talks about like, just do it, just make it a pattern and just have that habit and just do it. It's non-negotiable. And so my daughter she's 4, and she's in a little like get ready for kindergarten preschool class, but it's so short. It's just in the afternoons for a tiny bit. It's not enough to like go out and really get much done. Like you could get your oil change, you could go to a doctor's appointment, dentist, and it's just 4 days a week. So I decided that 2 of those 4 days, on Wednesday and Friday, I would dress in my gym clothes to take her to school. I would go immediately to the gym, which is near her school, and work out, just walking that entire time that she is in school, and then go back and pick her up. I wasn't gonna care if I was sweaty. I wasn't gonna care if my face was red and all the other moms saw me, which I have such struggle with, like caring about what people think of me. But I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And so I formed that habit back in December, and even one day I had to go to the dentist, and I went to the dentist in my gym clothes and then went there. I think I only got to do 20 minutes at the gym, but I was like, this is my habit. On Wednesdays, I go to the gym. So even if I had this tiny bit, I did it. And it felt really good to like know that I kind of conquered that. And she also has this part here that I really appreciate as somebody that puts stuff out to the public. She, of course, has millions and millions of fans, so she gets a bunch worse and more stuff than I do. But she talks about dealing with people being mean to you or negative stuff, or even, not even people trying to be mean, but constructive criticism that hurts or stuff like that. And she has a section about distracting yourself from it. Like before, if somebody writes you something mean, don't respond right away. And my go-to thing is always to apologize. I'm always apologizing for everything. Like even if I didn't do anything, I will apologize just to try to make it right, or try to appease the person, make them happy. But she talks about distracting yourself and going and doing something and then coming back and looking at it. She says that she would get mad, so she would stop herself before writing so that she didn't reply like angrily. I tend to get sad and think really bad about myself. So I'm gonna try that as a new thing. It's very minimal, the amount of negative stuff that I get, which I'm so thankful for, because the knitting community is absolutely wonderful, and the vast majority of 99.9% of people are amazing, and I'm so thankful to have met so many of you and online and got to talk to you online and on Instagram. But I'm gonna try that thing of distracting myself before I go back. And probably I shouldn't even respond to the stuff that's hurtful, should I? That would probably, because it's probably just, in any case, like internet trolls or something like that. It's probably just giving in to what they want. But that was helpful to read that. So this is Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin. And that is all that I have this week. It's the book. And I wanted to talk really quickly. My book goal for next year is 100 books. So I'm going to be reading a lot of poetry and children's books and adult books. But so just get prepared if you watch for a big, wide variety of different books coming up next year. And as just an ending thing, I wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who's watched the podcast all through 2016. And I hope you enjoy this new kind of themed thing for 2017. I'm excited about doing it and getting to kind of explore these different designers that I've picked. And it's going to be a fun year of all kinds of new stuff. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week and that you get to do all the things you love. Okay, bye guys.